Everybody. Welcome into the Women's Wellness Network. Right? Breathe, springs in the air. Well, at least in North America, thankfully, right? And today we have our guest here, Olive. Hello, Olive. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you, Tammy. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself and tell us where you are in the world.
Thank you. So I'm calling in from the Philippines, and I'm a spiritual coach specializing in consciousness expansion through energy medicine, quantum energy medicine. So I help people be in their highest light and take their next step to their destiny. And this is through facilitation of the activation and development of their soul gifts.
Beautiful. See, and all this quantum healing and energy medicine, it doesn't make a difference where we are on the planet. We can work together. We can work in person, of course. Sometimes we can
Mm-mm.
get to do that, but nowadays we're lucky enough to be able to have this right, to be on Zoom, to be able to right be in the energy, even though we're
Mhm.
thousands and thousands of miles away from one
Mhm.
another. Right? Beautiful. I wanted to read, if you don't mind, when you said you wanted to have an interview, you said, I am passionate about our divine design for wellness on multiple fronts and multiple dimensional levels of all which impact and shape our experience of physical well-being. I love that. That's
Mhm.
beautiful. That makes, that's our putting all the pieces together, right? The inside
Mm-mm.
with the physical outside. And oh, yes. So, can you please share a little bit about a little bit more in depth of what it is that you do?
Absolutely, Tammy. Thank you. So, what I do is whenever I work with someone, I always tune in to their divine design for greatness. Everyone has a destiny, and that destiny covers all facets of our lives. So, not just the spiritual, of course, but especially the physical and the material. So, I always begin with that in mind. I tune into that. I look up some of the more common soul blueprints that we have here on earth. And knowing that story arc that each soul is meant to have in this life, then I take that information, I share that information to my client to help them understand what their divine strategy is for any particular scenario and any particular aspect of their life. So that's what I do basically. And then once we are in sacred space, once we have that strategy dialed in, we work in each session on a particular facet of that challenge, that learning situation, learning scenario that's meant to help them unlock a soul gift or several soul gifts at the same time. So that's how I do my work. I
That is
hold people in that sacred space.
lovely, lovely. See, and yes, this work can be done from anywhere, which is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. So how did you get into this? Is this something that was in your family line, being a healer, or is it something that came upon you because of a situation, or how did you end up working in this line, working in this way?
Ah, well, let me take everyone back to my childhood actually, because I have this awareness of myself as not being from this planet. And I feel that many people around the world have that same concept or construct of themselves. In fact, in my understanding of everyone's divine design, we're actually not from this world at all. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. And so, because our origin is outside of this earth mystery school, as I like to call it, uh, we are here to evolve, to blossom as expanded consciousness. I've always had that sense of myself, even as a child, that I'm not from here. and that I'm here on a mission to observe and to support this consciousness expansion as I also grow my own consciousness here in this human form. So there's that aspect to that. And then, of course, being or identifying as starborn, physical uh, reality has not been easy for me. I've actually always been very sensitive to toxins
Mm.
on Earth. And so, therefore, I was often quite ill as a child, actually. And it was only much later that I finally understood I have so much control over my experience of reality. And so I started exploring methods like pranic healing, for example, in my late teens. So I was at college and I had the chance to study with a few teachers, spiritual teachers who were already offering that kind of work here in my country. And then, so basically, by now, I have almost close to 30 years of energy healing experience. Most recently, though, I formally trained in shamanic energy medicine at the Four Winds Society, of energy medicine. So I have come to embrace that kind of practice and learning from the many great traditions of healing and shamanic healing around the world. So that's how I got started. And personally, also, Tammy, this focus on sacred service by devoting myself to healing started in 2013. In my last big corporate job, my work was so toxic. I was the learning and development manager for one of China's biggest ed tech companies, and we were going public. We intended to go public on the New York Stock Exchange. So the stress and toxicity of that much work took its toll on me. And by the time I understood what was happening, uh, I was having walking pneumonia
Oh,
virtually every quarter for about a couple of years. And so I had already started doing soul readings in the early 2000s, but around that time, 2013, it dawned on me that I was being invited by spirit to embrace my calling, to share this healing gift and this understanding of our divine design. And I finally took that leap in 2017. And since then, I've been growing my practice. So, going back to your question, it's been a little bit of everything. This calling from childhood, a pivotal event in my personal life in 2013. And then, of course, a lot of training and study in between until the present.
beautiful. My goodness. Yes, a journey. It's a journey, right? Like you've had the experiences, the things that help you understand the things that you're studying, even within your own personal life, right? And okay, when you were there's so many things. When you were a child, did you were there other people around you that you felt like were connected with that too, like being a star child, being not of this planet? Because I know a lot of people don't feel um, home. They don't feel like they're at home on this earth, and it's a struggle. So, did you feel like you had support in that realm?
No, but at least on the earthly level, I was in contact, telepathic contact with Star Family at least, and it all came to a point of how do I call it? A point of separation, if you will. When I was 7 years old, uh, all I remember is that we had this big meeting on the mothership on our mothership, uh, and they explained to me. So my star family explained to me. So you've been here for about 7 years now. You've had many experiences as a human. Would you like to stay? Because if you choose to stay, then you have to forget all of this for a time until you're ready to take up the next level of this calling or this mission to support the expansion of consciousness here. And I answered, I all I remember is I answered without hesitation, I'd like to stay. I'd like to say, even knowing that it would mean I would have this temporary forgetting of who I was or who I am, and that I would have more challenges to overcome, more lessons to learn.
Right.
So,
Beautiful.
no, nobody else, just that telepathic contact.
Right. Well, sometimes that's enough. We're not alone, right? We know we're not alone.
Mm,
And as we say, we're energy, we're frequency, and
mm,
having a human experience
mm,
as a different being, as something else that can come here and enjoy, but also struggle. Also, we gotta learn both sides, otherwise it doesn't balance and it doesn't make sense. So, oh my goodness, I feel you. I understand. I resonate with that a lot.
mm,
Um, the soul connection to else, something that's not, that we can connect with here on Earth.
mm,
My goodness, what else was I going to ask you? There's just so many things. Okay, when you first decided to leave, like corporate life and all that stuff, did you feel like alone? Did you feel lost, or did you just feel like empowered and yes, I'm on a mission and this is my time?
mm. A little bit of both, to be honest, Tammy. I was very much, by then, I was very much in closer connection or closer contact with my entire spiritual team. But at the same time, at the human level, I understood that uh, there needed to be like some gatekeeping around this energy and this consciousness. And also because not everyone is ready to hear that, we are more than the ordinary human beings that we think we are. So I also chose to keep all of that to myself and instead focus on my training. So really a little bit of both. I felt empowered. I knew what I had to do and I was focused, intent on that. But at the same time, I also knew that I had to step back from active community, if you will, with other human beings for a time to keep that energy stable and secure, that consciousness. So in hindsight, I understand it as an intensive period of activation. I had already gone through a similar phase in my life in the early 2000s. And so by this second round, around 2013, before taking the leap and leaving corporate life, I understood that it meant stepping back from ordinary reality in terms of socializing or in terms of pursuing other kinds of interests that are more, more mainstream.
Right, right. So when you had your debut, when you finally decided, okay, I'm going out there, I'm ready, I'm going to be in the world, I'm going to share my gifts and start working with people. What was the first steps? How did you come out of that shell time? Because I know I feel like there are a lot of people who are in that shell time right now. They're
Mm,
keeping to themselves. They're starting to understand things about themselves and want to, come out into the world and say, hey, I'm here. I understand what's going
mm,
on a different level.
mm.
That could be so scary for some people. So how did you do that? How did you say, okay, I'm here, I'm Olive, and I'm going to help the world?
Mm. Yes, I have that same sense that many people are in this chrysalis, if you will, and that they are being invited, just as I was, to step forward and share their gifts. When that happened for me, so there was, in fact, an initial stage of that around 2000, the early 2000s, when I understood that I could be giving soul readings. I could be helping people with understanding why they're here, their sole purpose and their sole mission. So when that happened in the early 2000s, my option was to start a website and let friends know that I was doing this semi-professionally. And so that's what I did. I put out the word on the World Wide Web and made a little website. When it happened again around 2013 onwards, I took similar steps. I told friends, I offered free sessions to those who were in such a place of need that getting them the help uh, was all that they could do, and there wasn't much support for them wherever they were on their journey. I also did some simple advertising at the time. So I did start by just sharing it with the world in various ways as I could at the time. Nowadays, though, it would involve a lot more, I would say, structure.
Mm.
So doing it this time around, I would say involves a lot of structure. So the crucial thing, of course, Tammy, is that we are constantly invited by higher consciousness, our higher selves, to flow with divine grace and divine guidance, right? So for anyone in that chrysalis now, and knowing that they are invited to share their gifts more publicly than they ever have before, tuning in to what resonates. Some people resonate with the idea, for example, of speaking about their gifts or speaking about a theme related to their gifts. And that may be a good place to start. Others may need support with birthing their practice. And so finding the right kind of power partnership, a sacred container for building that practice may be the next step rather than going right out there and saying, I'm ready to serve. So it really depends on what stage they are in and what resonates, what inner guidance is inviting them to do.
Right. Beautiful. Well, it sounds like you would be a great person for people to connect with on either level of learning how to shine or learning how to take the first steps, walk slowly, feel supported, feel like they're not alone. I'm noticing behind you, it says mypowermap.com. Can you tell us what My Power Map is?
Yes. So currently on my web page, my home page, I have an invitation to book a free power strategy session. So in 15 minutes, we lay out the basic uh, divine design for your destiny. And believe me, it can be done in 15 minutes. So we cover what the main story arc is for the expansion of consciousness that you chose before coming here to Earth, before incarnating. And then we also look at your next steps, knowing that you are meant for this kind of greatness. What are your options? And what are the next steps, next possible steps given those options? So that's what they can find at mypowermap.com right now. A chance to schedule their very own power strategy session. And after I lay out the basics of their divine design and their next steps, then we have a little time to go over any questions that they may have. So that is the invitation for anyone called to seek support, to seek a new perspective of their highest potentials, to help them take their next steps to their greatness.
Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for that. It's so awesome to have tools, things that people
Mhm.
can actually just go and try, use,
Mhm.
explore, right? Even if you're, doesn't matter really which stage that you're at, because that sounds like that would help you decide what could be next instead of
Mhm.
floundering or freaking out, running around trying to,
Mhm.
oh, who
Mhm.
do I talk to? Who understands me? Who's going to give me some guidance that I need to get from here where I am right now to where I want to go. And sometimes people don't know where it is that they want to go. So
Mm-mm.
yeah, having that structure is really awesome. So can you tell us what are other ways that people can reach you? Obviously, mypowermap.com.
Yes, and I also have my Facebook page, my personal one, and I also have a professional one. So either way of interacting with me is possible. And they can also email me if they are interested, olive@mypowermap.com. Olive@mypowermap.com. So they can also just shoot me an email if they would like to first tell me their story. And I also welcome that because then I can begin to hold them in that sacred space of their greatness and their journey, wherever they are on that journey. I can hold them in their highest light from there. So I also welcome email, actually.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Okay, women of the Women's Wellness Network, we will make sure we put all that information for Olive's contacts. And obviously you can see mypowermap.com. So free tools there to,
Mm-mm.
to help you get started if you're not started
Mm-mm.
on your journey. Free tool to help you find the next step if that's what you're looking for, what you're needing. And Olive, lovely soul, thank you so much for coming today. Thank you for sharing your light and your love with us because the world needs more of that. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Tammy, for our community, our sacred sisterhood. It is such a joy to be sharing sacred space with you and our sisters here. Thank you all for your radiance and your brilliance. I am awed and I am grateful to be with you all.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Olive. And as Olive says, I am honored and grateful to be with you all also. So Women of the Women's Wellness Network,
Mhm.
thank you so much. And until next time, be well.